Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm BRET. 1 week after the deadly shooting at a South Florida high school that claimed 17 lives and forever changed many times that, survivors brought their demand for new gun controls and new security measures to the state capitol in Tallahassee. Meanwhile, here in Washington just moments ago, President Trump finished up what the White House billed as a listening session that really turned into an open exchange of ideas and emotion. We have Fox team coverage tonight. Steve Harrigan's in Parkland, Florida, with the students' story down there. But we start off with Chief White House correspondent John Roberts on the North Lawn. Good evening, John.
Brett, good evening to you. It was another extraordinary moment at the White House. The nation allowed to listen in as students from Douglas High and the parent of one of the children killed there appealed to President Trump to not let the Douglas school shooting be like all the others that this nation has seen, to actually make a difference this time. In the state dining room today, 6 students from Douglas High School and their parents brought to Washington by the Department of Education.
Nothing ever that horrible should ever have to happen to you.
I was lucky enough to come home from school, maybe compromise on some solutions, so this never has to, no child, no person in this world will ever have to go something through so horrific.
This solution is not going to be a singular thing. It's going to be multifaceted.
It's not left and right. It's not political. It's a human issue.
And I don't understand why I could still go in a store and buy a weapon of war.
The students telling stories of the terror they went through as the gunman blasted his way down the corridor. And from the father of Meadow Pollock, who was killed at Douglas High, the anguish and anger of a parent who will never see their child again.
Should have been one school shooting, and we should have fixed it. And I'm pissed. Because my daughter I'm not going to see again. She's not here. She's not here. She's in North Lauderdale at whatever it is, King David Cemetery.
Also at the meeting, parents of children killed at Sandy Hook Elementary, the parents of Rachel Scott, the first student killed at Columbine, and students and teachers from D.C. high schools. President Trump was in listening mode, but also coming to the meeting with ideas of his own.
We're going to be very strong on background checks. We'll be doing very strong background checks, very strong emphasis on the mental health of somebody, and we are going to do plenty of other things.
Before President Trump convened the meeting, protesters marched through Washington to the White House to observe a moment of silence, to read the names of the fallen, and to demand the president do something concrete to address the epidemic of school and mass shootings in America.
We need common sense gun control legislation now!
President Trump pledged that the Douglas school shooting won't be like all the others, that it will result in changes. Among the things he is considering, raising the federal minimum age to buy a rifle from the current 18, keeping guns out of the hands of people who should never own them, addressing the issue of mental illness, and tightening up background checks to make sure red flags don't fall through the cracks. The president also suggested military veterans could be hired to provide security in schools.
You'd have a lot of people that'd be armed, they'd be ready, they're professionals. They may be Marines that left the Marines, left the Army, left the Air Force, and they're very adept at doing that. You'd have a lot of them, and they'd be spread evenly throughout the school.
This is just the first listening session that the president will have at the White House this week. Tomorrow he meets with state and local officials, and then next week he meets with the nation's governors to talk about the problem. Brett, we have been here many times in the past, but at least on the surface, this time is beginning to feel different.
Definitely different, and we'll see where this goes. John, another topic. We heard from White House Chief of Staff John Kelly about security clearances, specifically dealing with Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law.
You'll remember last Friday, Brett, Chief of Staff John Kelly issued a 5-page memorandum saying that people who have security clearances that are pending as of June 1st or prior to that will lose their interim security clearance as of this Friday. That apparently does not apply to Jared Kushner because of changes that he made in his SF-86 clearance form, which is the background form that you fill out to get your full security clearance. That was not submitted until after June the 1st. The Chief of Staff, John Kelly, said, and the Press Secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, said that Jared Kushner will continue to fulfill his job, which involves looking at some of the most highly classified information that passes through the White House. But Kelly also said that he is going to review this every month or so. So if Kushner does not get his full security clearance soon, he may not be out of the woods. Brett?
Okay, John Roberts live on the North Lawn. John, thank you.